Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was the very first Call of Duty game that I initially purchased back in 2020 when I originally thought that I was going to get a PS5 back in that year, and I never got one until just like 2 to 3 weeks ago. With that being said, Black Ops Cold War was the very first Call of Duty game to be released on the new and current gen PS5 and Xbox Series X. And so I thought it would be fitting to pop that open and finally give that some of its own time. So Black Ops Cold War is basically a direct sequel from Black Ops 1's story, set a couple years after that, maybe 10 or so. It's been a long time since I played Black Ops 1. And honestly, to preface as well, Black Ops 1 is my all-time favorite Call of Duty game. I absolutely loved the story. The story was a 10 out of 10. It's the greatest Call of Duty story that you will ever experience in all of Call of Duty. I'm not saying that the story is groundbreaking or mesmerizing in overall game standards. What I'm saying is that it's just the greatest Call of Duty story of all time, with Modern Warfare 1's being a very close second. Now, after 3 other iterations of Black Ops, I believe, we get Black Ops Cold War, which is the 5th installment for the Black Ops franchise. Black Ops Cold War finally features Alex Mason, Woods, Hudson, with new characters as well. And in this one, you get to, in quotations, create your own character, and that's the character you play as for the majority of the story. Now, I did really love the ending as well as the narrative structure of Black Ops Cold War's story. I loved that they implemented choice-based gameplay into this game, because by the end of this game, the story goes in so many different directions depending on the choices you have made. Now, with that being said, other than the pre-existing characters from Black Ops 1 returning that weren't killed off in that game, and the mesmerizing and pretty damn good ending of Black Ops Cold War's story, honestly, that's really the only good things I have to say about that game. Now, the gameplay works fine. It's smooth as all can be. But even in the gameplay, huge problems, huge letdowns. The number one thing in the gameplay is the fact that they just used the new PS5 DualSense features in the controller to kind of make the gameplay feel more realistic to firing a gun yourself, which is fine until it starts impeding on your gameplay and your enjoyment. With that being said, as far as shooting in this game, you can't really be trigger happy or anything anymore, because within the triggers to shoot and aim even, the triggers stiffen up to make you feel like you're actually shooting a gun. Did not like that feature whatsoever. I love all of the new Sony New Age controllers, all of the new features such as speaking out at you from the controller, vibrations, all of those kind of gadgets. I do not like when they impede on your gameplay. I just didn't like that one feature. And then, not just that, with the gameplay, there were so many pop-ins with this game. Unbelievably huge, so many pop-ins. Every single mission had at least 2 or 3 pop-ins, which is a travesty, because before I even got to play this game already marked as a 0 out of 10 for me before I even played it, because it took me all night to install the game. That's usual. It's PS5. Very big games nowadays. But then the next day I turned my system on to crack it open and play it. And lo and behold, now I have 4 different installations on top of the original installation to get through. The first one was high-res downloaded DLC, which I guess it's just a download to make textures look prettier and better. And then I had to download the campaign story not once or twice, but 3 downloads worth, and each one was between 20 to 30 gigs, and all total, including the high-res download, it took about 2 to 3 hours. So that pissed me off already before I initially started playing the damn game. Then I got into the game, and I realized how easy the game was at the beginning of the story. I was playing it on realism until I got to mission 5, I believe, when I discovered my first heavy soldier for an enemy, and I killed him, and then they brought out 2 or 3 more. And I tried so many times to get past that part of the mission. I tried at least 55 times. I had to drop the difficulty down. So I just said to myself, I'll just play it the same way I play every other game, because normally I play COD on the hardest difficulty, because usually I die a lot, but I'm able to get through it. Basically easy peasy. Now, I dropped it down to my standards for the storytelling, so the easiest, and the game was a breeze then, a complete breeze. The problem I had in doing so, doing that actually showed me another negative I probably would have never encountered if I hadn't changed the difficulty. It's the fact that that one mission where you keep dying with the heavy is just about the only mission that had a different variety of enemies. They introduce heavies into that one mission, and then after that mission you encounter maybe one more, like 2 missions later, but otherwise you're going through Spetsnaz and Koreans or whatever they were in the flashbacks, and that was really the only variety of enemies that you had in this game. Heavies, standard, and Koreans. That's about it. Now, the story itself, too, while I did love the multiple endings, and normally I don't in stories such as Call of Duty where they're kind of always on rails, I did enjoy the multiple endings, although, if you think about it, it also kind of retcons the previous Black Ops games, not Black Ops 1, but like Black Ops 2, which was set in the future, and it still featured woods and the like, and if you know from playing that game what I'm talking about, you'll understand that this game definitely retconned at least Black Ops 2. Black Ops 3's story was such shit, I went through 2 missions and then turned it off, so honestly I don't really know what it was in reference to Black Ops, but Black Ops 4 didn't even have a story, so I just didn't even play that. But Black Ops Cold War completely retconned every single Black Ops game after the first one, as far as the story. Now, the multiple endings was good. I appreciated how they told the multiple endings, just in the sense of the storytelling narrative structure, where you had to find things yourself within other missions that lead up to the final missions. And I did like that. That does honestly make you feel compelled to go and explore the environments in these missions. It's not really an open world game, but they do give you actually some good things in the missions environments to go and explore what they give you. Now, the biggest thing I can say about the story is this story was dog shit up until the last 3 or 4 missions. The story is extremely bare bones spy war story. It was extremely cliche. There was nothing good about it except the ending of it and the narrative structure. I can't forget that. Now, the character features, even the detail of the characters, the attention to detail on the main characters, phenomenal. Although there were still always pop-ins even on the main characters. The problem I had with the visuals and visual enhancements is that the main characters looked pretty damn good. Everybody else looked bland, generic, and completely overused. Every single enemy basically looks the exact same. Now, I didn't really play through multiplayer or zombies because this is a years-old game at this point. So multiplayer, I imagine, is dead at this point, if not about to be. And I did kick on the zombies, and it had an interesting prologue to the zombies mode, but I didn't exactly play it yet. But that's where the gameplay comes in with the story, because I still got a feel for the gameplay of all of its aspects. And honestly, if it weren't for the trigger problem for the DualSense controllers, the game would run fine gameplay-wise, but it doesn't. You're not entertained unless you really like simulated realism, which if I wanted simulated realism, I would have just joined the military when I turned 18, not wait 15 years just to get a game where they're trying to simulate realism actually in the palm of your hands. Overall for me, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, it's really not that good. I gave it its fair shot. It has a mesmerizing ending for the story. I liked the details in the main characters. I tried with the main story. I couldn't really get into most of it. The gameplay is pretty ass, not so much because of the game itself, but because of the controller features that they tried to implement to make it a new age Call of Duty, I guess. Because, hey, look, new gen software allows us to do this, and that's the only reason why they did it. Even the writing was kind of bad just because the story didn't really grip me until the very end. So bad writing too. I did like the writing at the end because of all of the twists in the story, but that's literally at the end. So overall for me, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, it's not even an average Call of Duty game, it's below average. I'd say it's a 4 out of 10. Thank you. If you like this video, please feel free to join my membership plan on here. It will greatly help me in the future. Thank you.